To begin with, it's only natural. Sri Aurobindo is very vast, all-encompassing. It's only natural that all of us pick up things which are needed at a particular stage for our own progress. As we grow, new things emerge and they touch our heart and we move along the lines of our evolutionary journey. As I see, there are a number of things Sri Aurobindo did and continues to do. One, as we have been speaking about it, is a recovery of the past, but past in its true and the deepest sense. And often it is felt that Sri Aurobindo recovered only the Indian past. I don't think that's really true. He did recover the Indian past, but he also recovered the past of the world, because the Vedas are not a unique property of India. The Veda is the truth which is inscribed in the heart of every living and thinking creature. It is the truth that is inscribed in the tablet of creation, and he recovered it and gave it to us. Then there is another kind of action that Sri Aurobindo engaged in, and that action is with regard to the present. And a number of his writings encompass things which we would like to know in our present state, and some of us may not really like to engage in the future, but we want to know about our present, how we are and how we can make our life better. And he has given those things also to man, everyday life, guidance in everyday life. Then he also gave a truth which is, so to say, impersonal, more universal, which can be applied and used in many ways with different groups of humanity at different points of time, those who want to undertake the inner journey. But of course, the crux of the whole thing was the passage from the old to the new, from the past and the present to the future. And that was not just a theoretical work. It cannot be. It is a real work. It's a real journey, not undertaken only by the mind. So having ploughed the human field, if one may use the expression, through the pages of the Arya, which ploughed the human field, prepared it for the new light, having sown the seed of new creation through pages after pages of light, to the dim children of earth were given white star scripts of the light, born from the presses of the gods. Page by page to the dim children of earth were given. So he plucked the human consciousness, the human field, to prepare it for the new creation. He sowed the seed of the new creation. But there was needed a concrete material support to hold that seed, the right atmosphere. It has to be watered. It has to be exposed to the light of the new sun. And that, I suppose, is what we know today as the Sri Aurobindo Ashram. When she was asked to say something about the ashram, she said, it is the cradle of the new world. And I find this expression very, very beautiful. It can be taken in so many ways. But to me, a cradle reminds of a palna, where, little baby is kept for a while directly under the mother's supervision. If you really look at it, it's very interesting. One can narrate it to the story of the Vedas, where the firstborn are the sons of Diti, the mother of darkness, which we all are to start with in our consciousness. We are children of division, mind-centered, ego-centered, desire-driven. And they have asked us to take a leap, not asked us, they are leading us, carrying us for this great leap, where from an egocentric, anthropomorphic vision of our humanness, we have to change into a divine humanity, which is a divine-centric way of life. And that is a great leap. Instead of being driven by the desire, Sri Aurobindo writes in one of his early writings, to cross this great journey, perilous journey, one needs a ship, a compass, a steering, and the motive force. So where does it come from? He says, the ship on which you will sail is the ship of Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the truth, of the principles. That is the ship. It cannot be done by mental knowledge, mental understanding. and all our fanciful ideas, opinions, etc., etc. We have to learn to surrender it to a greater knowledge, a greater truth. It's true of even ordinary physics. If I want to learn physics, I need to start with, accept that somebody can tell me more about it than I myself. Otherwise, I have no need to learn about it. Faith is the steering wheel, and surrender is the compass. And the motive power which will drive this ship is the Shakti, the divine Shakti. This, of course, is before the mother's actual coming. And she comes, and that's where I find the big change. The old creation, we depended on nature to move us, to carry us. And it could move us at the most from a Rajasic to a Sattvic state of consciousness, to use terms of Indian psychology, Indian yoga. We could become a little saintly, nice people, good to our fellow human beings, etc., etc. All that has been done, and done number of times. Civilizations have risen to that height and collapsed again and again. So that was not enough. We had to take a leap out of all the three modes in which inferior nature functions to greater supernature. And therefore the big difference in the ashram life, or that first experiment, if one may, Shubinda said the ashram is a laboratory, is that not nature, but the supernature and its embodied presence of the divine in matter, that was placed in the very forefront. It's very interesting that if you look at the avatars in the past, so far, except for individual pursuit, where one says you have to go to Krishna through Radha, but essentially it is the masculine side which is in the front and the feminine stays behind. But for the first time, it is that eternal power which is placed in the forefront, and the Purusha side steps behind, because it's a work of a new creation, it's an entirely new leap. So this is the first necessity which it was a field where they did the experiment and showed us what is this new way to live, what is this new way to breathe and act and be. And then this new creation had to be watered. Normally in our life, all these seeds of human consciousness, what we call as karma and sanskara, are watered by desire. They may be very nice desire, sattvic desire, but they are nevertheless egoistic desire. But this seed could only be watered by the water of divine love. Otherwise it won't sprout. This is the interesting part of the psychic consciousness. Instinctively, naturally, intuitively, it goes behind if it finds ugliness, untruth, abounding around it. It's its very nature, one can't help it. And if there is beauty, truth, love of even a higher humankind, it has a tendency to come out. So it had to be watered by divine love, directly by the presence of the divine and her love, pouring into the mud of human nature, this seed could sprout. It needed the sunlight of the divine consciousness. So Sri Aurobindo, always there, lines after lines, pages after pages, so much so that he, not almost, lost his eye in the process of pouring light on the human consciousness. Not only that, it needs the right atmosphere. So the whole atmosphere had to be created, the right kind of atmosphere. And if you really look at the ashram in its early days, the whole ashram was as if kind of secluded. It sounds very strange. We talk today about, globalization and world, but the ashram atmosphere was secluded to a point, just to give a small feel, that when some people wanted to go and watch a movie, the whole cinema hall, tickets were booked just for a few people to watch the movie. Because if the new consciousness is constantly coming in contact with the old and getting contaminated, it will take a long time. It was out of love. It was not out of any... It can be misunderstood, of course, but it was out of love, because it's a new endeavor. It has to be solidly rooted. Having said that, just a couple of minutes more, in 1958, after the descent, the whole understanding of the ashram did not remain only a little geographical spot. Already, Nalnida has spoken about it, and the mother in 58, that the ashram has become not just a geographical spot, but it extends in space. Wherever there is anyone who is turned towards Mother and Sri Aurobindo with a will to practice yoga is part of the larger ashram. It is equally true, and that makes the story even more interesting, that there are many in the ashram who have not come for yoga. So it makes a very, very, very interesting mix. And shortage of time, so I would have, of course, wanted to elaborate. I don't want to leave it at a quizzical stage. But all that I can say is that if we can remember that this new creation does not hang in nowhere, it does not hang in a vacuum. It is centered around and grows in and through coming in contact with the Divine Mother. If we can remember that, I think we will be on safe grounds and the journey will be very safe, smooth, because she will carry us through all this. It's not possible for human consciousness, limited as it is, to even conceptualize what supermind will be, let alone take this leap. All our human measures, human actions, human understanding fail, collapse. It doesn't matter. They are bound to. Maybe a whole world will collapse. Father spoke of this apocalyptic vision, that maybe a whole section of humanity may collapse. What is there? It's a totally new thing which is to come, which is far more precious. The important thing is, do we really hold it sacred to us so much that nothing else matters? Even if outside bombs were bursting forth, still, would we hold on to this, that this is the leap I want, and for this leap, the one guiding principle, the one central liberating principle is to be open to the Mother. Let me end. It's a very vast thing, so let me end with one small letter. When Sri Aurobindo was asked, what is the secret of this yoga? So he said, there are two secrets, gave only one. He said, there are two secrets of this yoga, and then he wrote, to remain open to the Divine, to remain psychically open to the Divine Mother, not just open, psychically open. So of course he was asked, what is the other secret? Because he wrote two and replied only one. I mean, it's the central thing. So he said, to aspire for the divine life. So to remain psychically open to the Divine Mother with an aspiration for the divine life. And that's what the ashram is meant to symbolize. The difficulties are many, as she said. And she has also said, none of the present achievements of humanity can pull the ashram, which includes now the larger community, out of its difficulties. It is only by a total and wholesale conversion of its members. It's not an easy task, but let us enjoy it, because the more challenging the task, the greater the emergence from within, and the greater the leap of faith. Thank you.
I have been in contact with Auroville for the last 22 years. I'm working in Auroville and living in Auroville in the last 15 years. In all these years, I have been working in the administration of Auroville. I have been a member of the development group, economic group. Now my responsibility is in housing and in the FNC, the group that gives direction to the economy of Auroville. These platforms has provided me with some kind of knowledge, insights about what is happening in Auroville, and also doubts, contradictions, many other things. Some years ago, I felt the necessity to do a deeper study about Auroville and to try to understand our community from the point of view of Sri Aurobindo more. And I started to study the human cycle more in depth. And after, I tried to apply it to Auroville to see if I could have some deeper insight, some deeper knowledge about what was happening in our community. I have to say that this is an impossible task, The life of Auroville is mostly as the life of a zero window, is not in the surface to be analyzed and to make judgments and to condemn or to approve what is happening there. It's a process. And in this process, the main forces are not in the surface, are underground. And that is one of the multiple difficulties to analyze Auroville and what is the present situation of Auroville today. As you know, the last data of Auroville is that we are now around 2,200 people, more than 40 nationalities, different nationalities living there, all kind of cultural backgrounds, all kind of social backgrounds, experiences from the most extreme corners. So it's a very difficult, it's a very complex affair to put everybody together and to try to give a direction to this bunch of contradictions that we are the people that there is now in Auroville. So, if I take a little some of the insights of the zero window and I try to apply to Auroville, these are some of the findings that it was useful for me. I want to share with you. Of course, these insights are only approximations, are never the truth about anything, is temporary and not share any kind of conclusion, but gives some kind of clue, some kind of insight, at least for me, was useful to do this. If I start by the symbolic stage and apply to Auroville, normally in any society in the world, this period will be a long period in which the truths, the insights of the saints or gurus or the people that inspire that community needs long periods of time to be established and to pass to the other levels of the society. In Auroville, unfortunately, for me this period started around 1965. There were the first comments of the mother coming to define Auroville, and finished very abruptly in 1973 with the passing away of the mother. So this period in which the main guidelines for Auroville, the main ideas were laid down, was a very short period. Very shortly to lay down the foundations of any big structure that should take that foundations as the base to be erected. Immediately after the passing away of the mother, a big conflict started, as you know, between many of the residents of Auroville at that time and the AUROBINDO'S society, with the consequence that even if in that period after the passing of the mother, Auroville could have taken the ashram or some institutions as the guiding force to continue with the work of development of Auroville, these conflicts cut more of the links between Auroville and the ashram and the AUROBINDO society and other institutions. Auroville remained for many years quite isolated, lived on itself, and without much linkages with other institutions that could have guided Auroville at that time. Another important characteristic of this period, in my opinion, is that at that time, the 68, when Auroville started, the international media gave some coverage to Auroville, and this attracted a big number of Westerners, young people, that were feeling they were attracted by the ideas of Auroville and they started to come to Auroville. One of the characteristics of these people is that many of them were influenced very much by the ideas of the 60s, the spirit of social revolt, anti-hierarchical attitudes, individual freedom, egalitarianism. All these ideas that were very much present at that time play an important role in the configuration of Auroville in that year. Some of the conflicts that were created at that time have as origin this kind of ideas. The positive side, we could say, of this is that at that moment were planted the seeds of probably the contributions that the Westerners could do for the future of Auroville if we want to have an universal city. These seats can play an important role in trying to get something like a cultural synthesis between East and West. If I pass very fast to the other stage of psychological development of Auroville, the typal or conventional, as everybody knows, this is an stage in which there is an increasing tendency to intellectualize life and to put all kind of conventions and guidelines. I think that from 1973 until now, Auroville has been engaged in this period. The administration, the different working groups of Auroville, the Residents' Assembly, we have tried to come up with a number of guidelines, policies, and all kind of things to try to give an orientation to Auroville as a whole. And we can say that this is not the best way of developing Auroville, but this kind of regulations even today are very much needed. How much Auroville has become a bureaucratic, a conventional society? There is something there. But I think that Auroville is quite fluent, and we have a process in which all the groups of Auroville have a mandate for 2 or 3 years, no more. All of them are changed, revoked, put new people. And there is an accelerated way of changing the situations in Auroville, confronting the problems and trying to give solutions to them. I believe that many of these processes are more superficial in nature than deep process. I have seen for long spans of time that different groups have been dealing with the same problems, and at the end they didn't change anything. The groups were changed. Some superficial changes were made, but the real problem continued then after 2, 3 different groups dealing with the same matter. So we have something that offered an image that in Auroville nothing is permanent, everything changes very fast. But the main problems of Auroville remain underground for years and years without being tackled. Another important characteristic of this period, in my opinion, was that in 1988, the Auroville Foundation Act was approved by the Indian Parliament to give a legal coverage to Auroville. The relevance of this act can be seen at 2 levels. The first one can be positive in the sense that we are recognized in front of the government of India as an entity. They can support Auroville at many levels, they can help Auroville at many levels. But the negative aspect of this is that this Auroville Foundation Act has permitted to intervene the Indian government directly in Auroville affairs. And as everybody knows, the mother was telling that Auroville should not fall in the hands of any government, being Indian or Western or whatever. So this danger is there, and I think that in the last years has been accentuated. That is my personal opinion. Speaking with the members of the governing board, they believe themselves that they are the rulers of Auroville and that the community has to provide to them some ideas, but they are the rulers, they will determine what is good for us. This has created some problems between the governing board, selected by the government of India and the community of Auroville. And I believe, and I will do all the possible that this is changed in the years to come. I am at the beginning. This is one of the big problems today in the life of Auroville, and this will grow and will grow. The individualistic stage. The main characteristics that present in Auroville is, one of them is that the people don't participate, for example, in the collective processes. Many of them for different reasons, or because the collective decisions are very long, very tedious, very difficult to reach any consensus. They resort to do by themselves whatever and to solve individually problems that many times should be solved collectively. But the people choose the shortcut because the other is impossible. The other expression that is finding this individualistic age in Auroville is something that I call a extreme relativism. This is very important in the life of Auroville. As you know, thanks to the philosophies of the West, these postmodern philosophies, the main tenets of these philosophies is that truth cannot be known. We don't know anything. There are only interpretations about everything. And then when in some discussions of Auroville, we put some guidelines, very clear guidelines to be followed by the community, then the immediate reaction of many people is, oh, but this was writing in 65, don't come with these ideas, no. Oh, and now the mother was so flexible that now it will change these kind of guidelines. Many other things that impossibilate to have common truths that could guide the community, and everything is a matter of interpretation, and then interpreting interpretations, we can spend the rest of our life, but very little decisions are taken. The subjective. I believe, I have to go very fast, that I believe the majority of the Aurovillian population is in this stage, in this ecological stage. As you know, the subjective age is a stage in which the human being start to try to see deeper what is below under the surface of each one of us, and to give some steps towards self-knowledge and towards a more truthful way of relating between ourselves and outside. As you know, also there is a false and a true subjectivism, and in Auroville I think that alternatively we are in the good subjectivism and many times in the wrong subjectivism, and this gives us a scope, some kind of experiences to grow individually and collectively. I don't believe that in the present situation of Auroville we have any spiritual person in Auroville or any spiritual group with the capacity to lead Auroville. There are people with spiritual experiences in Auroville, I know a number, and I am speaking with them, but they are very much involved many times in their own experiences. It's difficult for them even to manage these kind of forces, and they don't have the capacity to lead the community, any person or any group. So this is a contradiction because it is supposed that Auroville should grow towards an spiritualized society, but in the absence of persons that have this kind of consciousness, we cannot say that we have reached this stage. It's impossible for us. And probably there is a long way until we reach that level. However, I believe that in Auroville itself, we exhibit many of the tracks of the characteristics of an emerging spiritual society. There is a big gang of people that we are trying seriously to study yoga, to put in practice yoga in our daily life. We try. When we will reach this spiritual level, I have no idea, I have no clue. But I hope that one day we will arrive there. And to conclude, I think that in spite of all the contradictions, all the weaknesses, all the problems that Auroville is facing, I think that there is invisible to all of us a big force pushing forward. In Auroville, for me, still after all these years, represent a place full of hope for the future of everyone. Thank you.
A speaker of any quality, being a foot soldier of the Mother and AUROBINDO, it is very difficult for me to address this august audience on the basis of spirituality or integral yoga. So therefore, I've relied heavily on quotes from the Mother and AUROBINDO to make my point, and I hope a moment will be available to me when I can also share my personal experience with you of Auroville, its present dilemma, and the future possibilities. In this connection, first one. Now, this is the first quotation that I felt I could share with you from Sri Aurobindo, which to me signifies the core of what eventually has come to be known as Auroville. I would rather not read it, leave to you to read it, but if you have difficulty, I'll read it with you. A deeper brotherhood, a yet unfound law of love is the only sure foundation possible for a perfect social evolution. No other can replace it. For this brotherhood and love will not proceed by the vital instincts or the reasons where they can be met. Baffled or deflected by opposite reasoning and other discordant instincts, nor will it found itself in the natural heart of man where there are plenty of other passions to combat it. It is in the soul that it must be find its roots. The love which is founded upon a deeper truth of our being, the brotherhood, or let us say, for this is another feeling that any vital or mental sense of brotherhood, a calmer, more durable motive force, the spiritual comradeship, which is the expression of an inner realization of oneness. Second one, please. Now, this comes from the mother. The most important idea is that the unity of the human race can be achieved neither by uniformity nor by domination and subjection. Only a synthetic organization of all nations, each one occupying its true place according to its own genius and the part it has to play in the whole, can bring about a comprehensive and progressive unification which has any chance of enduring. And if this synthesis is to be a living one, the grouping should be effectuated around a central idea that is as wide and as high as possible, in which all tendencies, even the most contradictory, may find their respective places. The higher idea is to give men the conditions of life they need in order to be able to prepare themselves to manifest the new force that will create the race of tomorrow. All impulsions of rivalry, all struggles of precedences, and domination must disappear and give way to a will for harmonious organization, for clear-sighted and effective collaboration. This is eventually brought the dream that mother had been dreaming for a long time. Can we have the dream, please? And the vision. And this vision finally found its expression. Most of us are familiar with it. I don't want to read it. It will only take time, but it's there for you to see. Can we have the next one? And finally, the moment arrived then when on 28th of February 1968, Auroville found its physical starting point, and that starting point was with this charter. Now, I would like to leave this for a moment because I think I want to use this charter as a basis of my next step. It is important to notice that in the first paragraph, Auroville belongs to nobody in particular. Auroville belongs to humanity as a whole. But to live in Auroville, and according to me, this is the focal point, one must be the willing servitor of the divine consciousness. There is no ambiguity. There is a condition. One must be a willing servitor of the divine consciousness. All the rest follows. It so happened, because of our own human failings, we eventually brought into play another element, because talking in terms of human unity, we could not even unite on the idea itself. We fought amongst ourselves. And therefore, the government of India had to step in. And that stepping in distorted this charter and created a foundation within the laws and limits of the Indian sense of democracy. So today we stand amongst ourselves in Auroville divided. For some, the Foundation Act has become the dharma. And for some who got involved in it prior to the Government of India or the Foundation Act coming into play. Now there are two elements into it. One is the element of the willing servitor of the divine consciousness. And the second is Mother's invitation to the people of all people of goodwill who want to participate and progress for a new life. Some or the other, psychologically, we have created a divide amongst ourselves. One who want to be the willing servitors and who are the collaborators, and others who are the people of the goodwill and who want to participate. Now, according to my own feeling, collaboration is unconditional, participation is conditional. And when we put conditions to our participation, we are applying most of the time our mental approaches and our own interpretations, and this, according to me, is the major reason of the conflict in Auroville today. Can we manage to survive this? According to me, the answer is positively yes, because this is a place where the impossible of today is going to be the possibility of tomorrow. And if you do not have the faith, and inner belief that this possibility is there, I don't think that you have any reason to be in Auroville at all. Having said this, I also want to share it because what Joseba has shared with you of the present day difficulties and the conflicts and everything else, in spite of that, being in Auroville is a joy because Auroville is an adventure. It is not time-bound. It is not the past. The present is that fleeting moment which links up the past with the future. What we're working for is the future. And that future is as definitive as predicted by Shavind and the Mother. I have absolutely no doubt about it. Now, having said that, and I think I'm still waiting for the chit to come, I just want to briefly share with you that in '72, there was a conference organized by Sri Aurobindo Society in Pondicherry on Renaissance of India. And all the various groups related with Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Sri Aurobindo Society, Mother Society, Sri Aurobindo, all were expected to participate in this. And that time an idea came to me because I was also an active worker traveling all over the country, where I discovered that the Mother had sometimes to form even coordinating committees in different states for the various organizations associated with the ashram had to work in harmony with each other. And this idea came to me at that time. I went to Nalida and I said, could we make an effort to bring all of them together, because there is one common focal point that I notice is there, where there is a jealousy, where there is mistrust in each other. And that unfortunately happened to be the point which Mother was trying to dissuade us from, the sharing of the money. So nothing that says, Pashi, you want to try it, you're welcome to it. But let me tell you that they are incorrigible people. It went so deeply into my heart. I went to each one of the leaders of these organizations. Each one agreed. And each one pointed finger at Navjat, saying that he's the one who is a nigger in the woodpile. So finally, when I went to him, who I affectionately always called Bhaiji, I said, Bhaiji, you are the problem. He says, what is that problem? I said, everybody thinks that you are the one who's extracting all the money for the Mother and others are left high and dry. So he says, is that the problem? I said, yes. So I said, He says, I'm prepared to share it whichever they want. I went back to each one of them and I said, it's about time that we sat together and we found a solution. Everybody said, we'll speak directly to him. The result was the same. Nawa remained where Nawa was, and everybody else remained where everybody else was. Now, why I'm saying this today, I'm using this platform for this purpose, that we have amongst us a person from Sri Aurobindo Society, people from Auroville, from various other organizations that have been associated. If we cannot come together, what are we talking about human unity? This is my message, this is my request, and this is my appeal to all of us. Can we, to whatever extent, we can contribute towards that human unity in one form or other. This will be the strengthened part of our working together towards the ideal that we have in our mind. Thank you very much.
Has really stirred many of us with his talk, and talking of human unity and talking of the essence of Sri Aurobindo's yoga and how we are failing in the effort of really being able to follow it. It reminds me of a little story where there was this devout Christian who wanted to unite with the consciousness of Jesus Christ, but he didn't know how to do it. So he went to other Christians whom he considered very devout, and they told him that you have to pray to Jesus. So he said, I don't know how to pray. So then go to a priest, because the priest knows everything. He is the head of the church, and he will tell you what is to be done. So he went to the priest, and he said, I'm told that I have to pray to Jesus, and I don't know how to pray, so will you please tell me how to pray? So the priest tells him that you pray to Jesus, and Jesus will tell you how to pray. So there are some things that have to be done. Do I have the faith? Do I have the aspiration? That is the issue. Truly, if I don't know how to pray, I should go to the mother and say, Mother, I just don't know how to approach you. I want to approach you. Maybe it is an approach which is driven by my individual anguish, or by desire, or by curiosity as to who you really are, what do you represent in this world. Or I really want to merge with you, will you tell me, what do I do? Whatever the propelling motive may be, the only way is to approach her. Pashi ji spoke about Auroville, and frankly, neither of us has the right to speak on human unity. All of us are very big failures in this field. But then we do feel that there should be human unity. And therefore one expresses one's views as to what I would do to have a bit of human unity, or what sort of an effort that really should be made. Mother said something very beautiful once, that if all that you receive within is bottled up inside only and is kept inside, it is of no use. That's old spirituality. You must express what you feel within. As you unite, you must express. These are, as you unite, you must express. Whether it is 0.1% or it is 20% is not the issue here. It has to be expressed. It has to be manifested through my mind, through my emotions, and through my body. Unless that happens, there is no possibility of any change. There have been millions and millions of people who have really arrived at the level of the supramental consciousness, which is called the truth consciousness, in a trance, in meditation. But when they come down, they open their eyes, and you find that you're still shouting at your wife. Nothing has changed. Because you have not changed, your outer nature has not changed, life has not changed, people have not changed, the society has not changed. So, what is the use really of arriving, as they say, or achieving when nothing really changes? Sri Aurobindo calls this a very selfish approach to spirituality, where I want to unite, where I don't want to be reborn, because this world will never change. It's like a dog's tail, as Vivekananda said. Therefore, I don't want to come back to this awful place. And what for? To tumble in darkness. And what? To do, to achieve, and to go back to Him. So why does He send us here? The purposeless world. So therefore, why bother? Let us unite and forget about things. This is something which it blocks this movement towards human unity. It just doesn't let it move because I'm not interested. I don't want it because I feel that it's just not possible. It's not possible to unite everybody. So forget about it. So basically there has to be a faith that if Sri Aurobindo's vision is to be realized, which we believe will be realized, therefore our effort has to be towards human unity. There is no other way about it. Problem is, do I have the faith or don't I have the faith? This is a question that Sri Aurobindo answered. That unless we have the faith, we cannot get the experience of inner unity. And unless we have the inner unity, we cannot get faith. So it's a catch-22 kind of a situation. What do you do then? So this obviously, the question, a counter question to Sri Aurobindo was that then what do we do? What comes first? He said, you have to develop a faith. You have to cultivate a faith and rely on it. You tell yourself, okay, my guru says so, therefore I have faith. My father has told me this when I was a child, therefore I have faith in it. And let your mind accept the faith. Because we being mental beings, unless the mind accepts it, we can't move forward. It's always a bottleneck. So, do I accept that the world will change? Do I accept that the supramental has come down as a physical principle to transform the earth, to transform matter, to lift life? Even if everyone is not going to be supramentalized, but if all the lives will be lifted to a higher level of consciousness. If I believe it, my friends, we have started the journey. And then the aspiration that I should keep on moving forward, the aspiration of prayer, the aspiration, oh Mother, tell me how to pray. I can't remember you, then tell me how to remember you. It's so simple. You don't have to do anything. Frankly, it's so simple. Okay, I can't do this, please tell me how to do it. I don't know where to go, please tell me how to go. Please tell me where to go. Please tell me to do this, please do that. I don't know how to eat, please tell me how to eat. It is at each level, at each point, we have to come into contact with her. And you find that life becomes really very, very simple. Whether it is in Auroville or outside Auroville, or anywhere in the US or anywhere, the life becomes much easier if this attitude of surrender is taken. And it has to be cultivated because we human beings have a remarkable habit of getting derailed. Today I aspire, tomorrow I don't aspire. Today I believe, tomorrow I don't believe. One little experience can explode all my faith. But then this is where we have to stand firm and stick on if we truly want human unity to get established. No? Not coming. Okay. 4 months, okay. Okay, the yellow chit is 4 minutes away. So actually, I was going to say all this in the next session because the subject is so common. So, you know, I work for Sri Aurobindo Society, which Pashi has just talked about, and we were in the middle of a great turmoil, and that the great turmoil, I personally feel, brought about a lot of beautiful things also. It apparently was ugly, and the fight was bitter and embarrassing, but it also brought out certain things in all of us which made us think as to what are we really doing? How low can we get? Can we stop now? Can we move up? Really, if you introspect and you look back to what really happened, one thinks, my God, how could I be what I was then? So stop now. So it made us think. It made us introspect. And today, I can speak on my behalf and on behalf of the institution that I represent. There is absolutely nothing in the heart of what the past was all about. Absolutely nothing. One goes to Auroville with love and devotion for the mother. One speaks to people who live in Auroville with the same kind of feeling of warmth, because all of us are trying. And willy-nilly, all of us are fumbling. We are in a very strange situation of being in the middle somewhere, hanging like Trishanku, or we don't know where to go, na ghar ke na ghat ke. What to do is something that we don't know really. We are the true examples of the interim species. We are neither here nor there. I think it's the most difficult period in this whole process of evolution today. We are really at, and Brother has placed us here for some reason, to play some kind of a role in this very difficult period where we have lost all the instincts of an animal but have nothing of the intuition of the gods. There is some sort of a strange vacuum in which he has left us, dropped us over there. Okay, now friends, you call for me and hold my hand and I'll take you through. Otherwise, you have no chance. So, it is really, we're closing all the doors and opening just one that takes us to her, and we just have to go through the door, whether it is too narrow or too large, doesn't matter, but we just have to go. So, I'm really quite worried about that chit of yours. Okay. So thank you very much. I think we will. It will overlap in the next session, and when we'll interact more on it. Thanks.